Welcome Hindal and Felipe. Thank you for joining today's session on performance. Today's training will be focusing on how to monitor your staff's performance, how often you should conduct performance appraisals, what are the legislative requirements, how to identify performance gaps, how to counsel and discipline employees, how to conduct a dispute resolution, how to support employees who have been terminated, and how to give feedback. What is performance management? Well, it's a set of processes for establishing a shared understanding of what an individual or group is to achieve and managing developing individuals in a way which increases the profitability that will be achieved in both the long term and short term. So as you guys are a part of the CBH team, we are currently updating our performance management system that meets the goals and objectives of the business. Now, some of the objectives are, we've updated new job descriptions, HR strategies, also product demand is high, is ongoing face-to-face feedback. Now, your role as line managers, you are required to manage your staff's performance by informing your employees what are the expectations and objectives of the business. Yes, you can write things down, Hindal. Good job. What are as I said, expectations and objectives of the organisation. You are to provide leadership, Felipe, yes, support and ongoing training and development, and of course evaluating. So what are the benefits of performance appraisals? Well, you enhance your employees' performance, you motivate employees, support employees, enhance job skills and knowledge, identify and examine their strengths and weaknesses. So basically, guys, if employees understand the aims of the organisation, this will support the implementation of the performance management system. Every employee in your team should participate in at least 2 reviews annually with ongoing training and support, as I mentioned before. These are some of the performance ratings that you should include in the appraisals. So exceeds expectations, meets expectations, development encouraged, improvement required, and of course the last one, unsatisfactory performance. So I'm going to talk about those very shortly. So when conducting a performance appraisal, this is how you should do it. So first step, inform employee by email or in person 1 week prior. Also ask them to provide something on paper so they're prepared for the interview, okay? Secondly, investigate prior to the meeting. Ask the HR for past appraisals, and then you'll compare results with the current performance. Thirdly, you'll meet with the employee, thank them for giving up their time, maybe offer them a tea or coffee to make them feel comfortable, and then you're going to explain the process to them. Okay? And then you're going to explain to the employee the objectives of the organisation. Then you'll highlight the employee's strengths first, let's talk about their strengths, and then obviously their weaknesses. Ask the employee if they understand their incompetencies and ask them to provide feedback on each point that we raised. Then you'll list strategies of how the employee can improve performance. So you have to always be ongoing with the support and improvement. And then lastly, this is what a trait of an excellent manager is. So as I mentioned before, supportive, you're always communicating the goals, ongoing training and support, coaching, mentoring, and then of course evaluation. So since introducing the new performance management system, CBH HR team, which is me, have had an increasingly important role to play developing and implementing employees' job descriptions, updating policies and procedures, inductions, and implementing training programs for employees who have a skills gap. So basically, skills gap is how it's affected the business, is that rapid changes in technology. So basically people having to always update new skills, that's what a skills gap is. So like for example, new constant industries and products coming out, so people have to keep learning how to, say for an engineer, have to learn how to make new things or products. Increase use of casual and part-time employees. So as managers, to avoid a skills gap, you have to ensure your employees have the right knowledge, skills and attitudes to perform their jobs. They have to meet organisational needs of the business, and as a manager, when your employees are with you, you need to teach them about on-the-job experience, ongoing training support, And then of course, we send them out doing training through external training providers. Next is unsatisfactory performance. So as line managers, once again, both of you, you're monitoring and managing your employees' behaviour on an ongoing basis. You're evaluating their job performance through performance appraisals. And a very important note here, a part of legislation, is Privacy Act 1988. This is, for example, confidential information that you get through HR. You need to make sure that this is all strictly confidential. And then also everything has to be recorded. So through performance appraisals, action plans, development plans, anything that you deal with an employee needs to be documented. Okay, that's very important. And then of course improving always. So applying the improvements in your meetings with your employees. Next is how to counsel and discipline. Question, yeah?
About recordings, documents. So
Yeah.
what kind of recording we're talking about?
Well,
like
it could be on emails.
Written records,
absolutely.
printed?
Yeah, written, could be like the appraisals, like I said. Anything that you've had a communication with the employee, you also need to write that down and document that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's very important. Yeah, great job, Handal. Thanks for the question. So yes, next is how to counsel and discipline employees if underperformance continues. So, firstly, the manager should organise to have a private discussion with the employee. So obviously you'll communicate via email or you go and speak to the employee on the job. Then you'll keep the discussion informal, especially if it's the first performance issue. So maybe just take the staff member away, or you can organise a meeting, of course. The session will begin with active listening and sharing ideas. So I'll give you an example. Okay, so Billy, I have identified that you're slacking, or there's time issues with your paperwork and you're making many grammatical errors. So you need to explain yourself why this is happening. So give me a valid reason. Let Billy talk about it. He will talk about his reasoning. And then you need to highlight with Billy, like, what are the incompetencies again. So you're active listening, you're repeating what he's saying. And then as a manager, the meeting with the employee must be evaluated and recorded, like I said before. So you need to have that stuff always. So this is the steps for counselling. So you advise the employees of specific behaviour and how it's affecting their job. Secondly, be specific, clear and concise of underperformance. So provide examples. Write some points down. Yeah, Felipe, great job. Avoid comparing the employee with other employees. Show empathy, active listening skills. 5, be a positive listener, very important. 6, establish how and when to follow up review of improvement of the development plan. So we've got development plan and action plan, so these can actually assist the employee to reach the goals. Close on a friendly note, ensure discussion is kept confidential. Also provide written evidence of the meeting and give it, obviously you have a copy for HR and then also give one to the employee. And then encourage the employee to communicate with you on an ongoing basis, so keep that communication alive. The employee may not achieve desired improvement immediately, so you need to monitor the performance of the employee. So especially after the meeting, coaching, mentoring, apply those development plans like I mentioned before. You can assist them to maintain consistency and reach the business goals and objectives. If the employee continues to underperform, you have applied counselling and still no improvement, you have to conduct a dispute resolution. So workplace disputes are common in the workplace, that happen regularly. So learning how to understand this process is obviously very important. It can be, and knowing the laws who can support you, like HR teams like myself. So legislative requirements, you both require to adhere to Privacy Act 1988, so record and document. Fair Work 2009, so in case the employee takes the business to court for unfair dismissal, this is something that can happen. And also Anti-Discrimination 1977, so you need to make sure that you're judging the performance of the employee, not their race, skin, colour, sex, etc. Look, the goal is here that you guys have to come to an agreement with the parties and resolve and close the case. However, most cases are not that easy. At CPH, we have a grievance procedure, and I'll explain how this is going to go. So the grievance procedure basically is, for example, Felipe, you're the employee, and Hamdal, you're the manager. You guys are going to negotiate with each other and try to resolve the situation. Obviously, the case is successful, then the case closes, everything's in documentation between the parties. Obviously, HR gets all the recorded documentation, and you get a copy as well. But in many cases, this doesn't happen. So the next part is that they bring a mediator in. So, for example, I might be the mediator. I come in from Fair Work Australia, and then I'll sit with you while you guys are talking about trying to resolve the problem. I'm only here to listen, and I don't make any judgments, and I don't impose. So you just basically the manager and employee have to discuss to try and come to a resolution. Obviously, if that doesn't happen, we bring in a conciliator. It's another person from Fair Work Australia. They come in as well. They basically reduce the tension between both parties. They improve communication and try and provide a solution. At this point, we'd rather find a solution because if not, then it will go to court, and then obviously the employee will probably foresee higher costs. So that's what we don't want to go through. Lastly, we've got termination of employees. So if you have to terminate an employee, you must adhere to legislations, provide employee with written notice and notify the employee immediately, and then you'll follow on discussing an exit interview. So when the employee meets with you, you must counsel them on the reasons of termination, provide them with alternative work options such as employment agencies, Centrelink, assisted income. You must also suggest counselling may be a good option. However, the company isn't obligated to foresee these costs because you have terminated them, but you can obviously give them options, yeah? And then obviously wishing them luck, and then giving them some written information so they are prepared to leave the workforce. Really important, Privacy Act 1988, I've mentioned many times. All employee information conducted is saved at work, either hard copy or electronic files on a HR system. So this is only accessible by HR or if you request to HR, okay? And absolutely strictly confidential.
Would you say the termination of an employee is like a final stage? Like when there's nothing else to do, then you terminate?
Yeah, so we've gone through obviously all the steps of praising them, they're not underperforming, unsatisfactory incompetencies. We go through all those steps and then that's the final. That's like the 3 strikes. Yeah, that's a great question. So lastly, applying feedback, guys, almost there. So how do you give feedback? So we're going to use the sandwich method. So so yeah, basically it's about being really positive, again with Billy. So Billy, you're doing a really great job, however the attention is lacking. So next time, let's remember the small details and then obviously encourage him, keep up the good job. Obviously next time you'll remember how to, you'll remember always to work hard, but also focus on the little details. So you've been encouraging, you're always talking about good results. This positive feedback motivates the staff, and obviously lastly, celebrating success. So a good coach is someone who observes if someone requires help. So you guys always need to be supportive. You also avoid criticising employees, so keep it positive. Discover if he or she can benefit from your strategies. Help them find a solution for themselves. Keep staff motivated, energised, enthusiastic, which you both are. Always reward success, as I mentioned before. So if they're doing a great job, take them out for a team building exercise. And that is it, guys. Any questions?
Pretty much it.
Yeah. So you guys are ready for the workforce to get out there and start engaging with the employees, performance management.
Employees.
Awesome. Great job, guys.